Another year, another flip through. Hey guys, my name is Christina and welcome to my 2020 flip through. The dotted notebook I used for this year is the Minimalism Art Premium Hardcover Notebook in the color white. The only reason I purchased this notebook was that I wanted a white or cream bullet journal. To my surprise, I just couldn't find one that matched my aesthetic. I had my mindset on that. So any other color, even if it was from a popular brand in which the paper was of good quality, I didn't care. I wanted an all-white bullet journal, and that's what I got. This section is my favorite, which is the collage I put together throughout the year with Polaroids, cards, stickers, and little souvenirs I collect to remember the year by. I think I'm always going to do this in my planner or bullet journal I make, because if I ever revisit my journal, this is the first page I see, and I instantly get to relive that year through these photos. I do have a couple of favorites on this page, one being this card. This card was given to me by my friend Alyssa. I included it in this collage because it encompasses 2020. The numbers 2020 sound like a great year, which is why David and I set our wedding date for 2020. And Corona ruined all of that. So I had to include this card because every single time I open up this planner, I'm going to remember, oh yeah, this is 2020 when Corona ruined everything. If you are more of a creative when it comes to your bullet journal, your setup is probably one of the essential parts because you want a design that you would enjoy looking at all year long. Everybody's is different, but some things to think about are fonts, color palettes, stationery supplies, and what pages you actually want your setup to include, because like I said, everyone is different, and that's what I love about bullet journaling. There are pros and cons to it. It can be time consuming, and the possibility of a creative block at some point in the year could be more of a burden. But you are essentially creating a planner that fits your life. So for mine, I wanted to keep the setup simple. I stuck with the color black. I used a stencil for each page's titles because I wanted it to be consistent. I also drew in little doodles of foliage and flowers. I used my Dymo label maker to tie everything together. And of course, with the monthly setups, I chose to be a little more colorful and vibrant. The monthly setups are a perfect opportunity for your mind to run wild creatively, because even if you don't like what you've made, you only have to see it for a month. But still, remember to keep in the back of your mind the aesthetic and style you prefer, because I feel like it's really easy to just do what other people are doing because it's cute or pretty, but you have to stick with what you like. Since this was my first year bullet journaling, I felt my bullet journal was all over the place. At one point, I questioned my setup, so there was definitely a learning curve to this. For instance, my book tracker is in this random spot in the middle of my journal, and I would have wanted that initially in my setup. When I was setting up my weekly setups, there was a lot of, do I need a brain dump? Because if I didn't make one, I found myself needing one. And when I did, I'd leave it blank. I wouldn't even touch it. And that goes the same for habit trackers. I mentioned this before in one of my other videos, but I love the idea of tracking 12 different habits. But I found myself struggling with just 3 or 4. And I finally was like, okay, let's stick with these 3 and add one when I feel comfortable. Let's be real, going into your planner every night and checking off your habit tracker is a habit in itself. So I'm still working on that. Now that we've hit the fourth quarter goals, you'll see why my setup design is essential to me, because I not only have to look at this design for a year, but I remake it every 3 months to reassess my goals. So if you decide to incorporate these pages in your bullet journal, you don't want the actual setup to be too complicated. It has to be enough where you feel creative, but it's mainly functional. At least for me, I like the bullet journal setup pages to be one cohesive theme. 2020 was a year of reflection and experiments. I was apprehensive about changing my routine from a traditional planner to a bullet journal, but because I had a little bit more time in March, I decided to just do it, and I'm so glad I did. It's given me a space of creativity. It's made planning so much fun, and sometimes planning can be overwhelming and disappointing, but I found bullet journaling, planning doesn't have to be so severe. You don't need a 5-year plan. I mean, look at 2020. No one suspected this would happen. So throw out the expectations and rules and do what you want to do.